Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Bare and Brutal podcast, the podcast where we bare our feelings and are brutally honest. I'm your host, Michelle, and today we are taking a closer look into the concepts surrounding holistic healing. We'll discuss the ways holistic healing compares to conventional healthcare methods, the struggles navigating a daunting medical diagnosis, and how to take back control of your own health and wellness. We are joined here today with Kathy Mao, who has quite the inspirational journey to share. She is a certified holistic coach who is on a mission to help women who are ready to break free from the cycle of disappointment and step into empowerment and what she has coined as the Bliss Soft Life. So thank you for joining us, Kathy.
Oh, what a fantastic intro. Thank you for having me and letting me be here and share my story. So I'm so honored and grateful for
Of
this opportunity.
course, of course. Y'all, just a second though, I have to say that Kathy's actually the one who reached out to me.
Yeah.
She's had this whole long, detailed, well-written paragraph, like making her pitch, like, hey, I think I should be on your show. We really align. And I was just blown away because I was like, why would this amazing woman want to be on my show?
Aw.
I was just so honored that you would reach out to me and that you felt that Bare and Brutal was the show for you to come on. So thank you for that.
Of course. And I feel like everything's always for a reason and we connect with certain people because we are on that, same wavelength energy. And I love your mission is just to help people in general. And that's my mission too, is just literally to help at least one person. And so it's just a beautiful place to be on and to be able to be here and just
Yeah.
talking to you. And it's like a new friendship that we're forming, which is beautiful.
It is. I've made so many connections just through social media and podcasting. You spoke about your mission. So I'd love to start off by sharing with the audience like what your story is, your journey in just becoming an entrepreneur, a certified holistic coach, and CEO of Happy Vibes LLC. Like, man, girl, you have quite the resume. So tell us about it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been quite a journey, but to be honest, I feel like this is actually my life purpose. And growing up, I've always loved helping other people. And in my friends and family, I'm always the go-to person that people always ask for advice or would just need someone to just listen to them. And so I was always that person. So, COVID happened and it hit, and I was like, okay, wow, life coaching is a thing, or coaching in general is a
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so that made me start wanting to tap into, can I do something more than just my 9 to 5 job, which I mean, I love too, and I'm good at it. I'm a patent paralegal
Mm-hmm.
as my day job, but I feel like there's something more passion with my life. And I was like, coaching sounds like a thing. Like I could totally do that and I could get paid for actually listening and helping other people. That's exactly what I love.
Yeah.
So I kind of looked into it. And then in 2020 to 2021, I got my certification and I was like going through the course and I was like loving it, every moment of it. But what really got me into wanting to become a certified health and life coach was my journey with infertility. So I suffered with infertility from 2019 to 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And for 2 years, it was such a journey. It was hard. I was so out of tune with my body. Honestly, I did not know. I took birth control, for at least a decade of my life. So 20 to my 30s. And at that time, I was like, wasn't really tapping into my health or how the woman's reproductive is. And anyways, the school system doesn't teach us in America or where I went to school about women's health in general. So, I took it as a back burner, nothing to it. And in school, they taught us like, if you try once, you're going to get pregnant. So that's what I thought. That's how naive I was. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to try. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to get pregnant. And obviously that didn't happen. And, it was a painful part of my life where, I felt like I was not in control of a situation. And I'm a person that always wants to be in control. So I had to learn a lot of myself,
Mm-hmm.
setting boundaries with people and starting to truly love myself, which I never really did. Growing up, I was a people pleaser. I always put others first. I believe I'm
Mhm.
an empath, so that's why I always felt other people's energies and their feelings, and I always put that first before my own. But during my infertility, era or season, I believe that God or the universe put me in that situation to be like, hey, Kathy, wake up. If you want a child, how are you going to take care of a child if you can't even take care of yourself? Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I had to get real with that. And I was like, you know, when you go through infertility, you always wish for the best. But honestly, I looking back for that whole first year though, from 2019 to 2020, I didn't do much. I guess I kind of changed a little bit of my eating habits, but I wasn't like 100% in. I kind of half-assed everything, to be honest. And I just believed that, okay, I'm just going to have this baby and it's just going to be that easy, like what everybody says,
Mhm.
and both my sisters tried once and got pregnant. And so I was like, okay, that's going to be me. But it literally took a whole year. And then that was like, okay, wow, it took a whole year with nothing, no change. And I noticed that my own body was so out of tune. Like I was having crazy periods. I was having, um, a lot of spotting. And I couldn't detect if I was ovulating or not. So when
Mhm.
you're infertile, you want to track your ovulation date, like
Right.
when the egg releases, from your ovaries. But I couldn't even track that with like a ovulation kit. That's
Mhm.
how bad my hormones was. And I was like, there's something more to this. Like I just knew it in my gut. During this time, I didn't empower myself at all. I was just taking, you know, pregnancy tests every month and then crying at the end of every time getting that negative pregnancy test. Dude, I spent so much money on pregnancy tests. I was just hoping for the best, not really doing much of changing my lifestyle. And mind you, during COVID times, right? You're like drinking at home. Like that's what we're doing,
Yeah.
drinking. And if you're trying to have a child and if you're infertile, drinking is not the most optimal, decision for your health. So after a year of just this depression and anxiety, full of anxiety, depression, and sadness, I finally wanted to empower myself. And the year of 2021 was when I was like, okay, I'm literally going to try to do something, change something in my life. And so, through my infertility journey, brought me into finding out that I got finally had endometriosis, and that was
Mhm.
what was causing my infertility.
Wow.
And so there's always a purpose. Like you don't see it at the time, but I was like, okay. Um, I was like, why am I going through infertility? I was like stuck in like this victim mindset of like the universe hates me. Like what kind of
Yeah.
karma did I do to deserve this? It's
Yeah.
hard. But after, being so sick of that for a whole year, I was like, I want to change something. And I wanted to change something in me of like, all right, I want to do everything in my own power to say that if I tried everything in my power and I still couldn't have a baby, then okay, I would like at least feel better about myself, right? Like
Yeah.
at least I tried. So for the whole year, it was a lot of empowerment. I changed my whole diet. I went on a bean protocol. So nutrients was super important to feed my body what it needed.
Mhm.
And when you have endometriosis, your body, it's like an inflammatory chronic illness. And so, right, your body, your insides is already so off, like so off, and your cells is working hard to try to get rid of the endometriosis that's growing inside of you. So feeding it nutrients is so important. And
Mhm.
so I didn't know that right before, because during my infertility journey, that's how, just going to doctors, etc., and then not being on birth control, like triggered the endometriosis to grow like at exponential
Wow.
rate. Yeah. And it's endometriosis is really hard to detect, by the way, which is
Yeah.
really sad because in my teenage years, I had really bad symptoms, but people always casted these problems like heavy flow, like crazy. Now I know it's from endometriosis, but back then people were
Mhm.
like, oh, just suck it up, like you can't handle period pain. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, I actually have endometriosis, which is real chronic illness.
Yeah. So I actually have a question about that. I know
Yeah.
when we discussed previously, you told me that 1 in 10 women are actually affected by endometriosis. And like you said, it just completely goes undetected. There's not a lot of knowledge out there or resources for women. So,
Yeah.
how did you advocate for yourself? Like when you knew, hey, something's wrong with my body, and you told doctors or whatever, and maybe they wrote it off, like how did you navigate that?
Oh, good question. Thank you for asking this question. So, this was part of my empowerment journey because in the medical system, we really truly believe that doctors are some kind of god, or we
Hmm.
believe and trust in doctors so much. That's what I was taught as a kid. Like, listen to your doctors, they know the best. But actually, I learned to realize that they're just humans too. And that they actually don't know much about endometriosis because they're not taught in medical school about detecting endometriosis.
Wow.
And that's why most people who have endometriosis become advocates, because it's kind of like a silent disease that's so hard to detect. But when you say these things, the doctors think of it as just a period problem, but inside your gut that there's more. And
Hmm.
so a lot of us who have endo do get dismissed. We're called crazy, like, and it's not because we're truly crazy. It's because exactly the medical system doesn't know how to detect it. And so when you go to doctors, I realized that I couldn't believe everything. Right, the first step was to not believe in that doctor all the time, and the second thing is I empowered myself to know that if that doctor's not understanding, they don't know to detect it, or if you feel like they're not understanding you, I have the power and choice to actually find a different doctor. And you have
Yeah.
that choice to keep looking for the doctor that validates you or makes you at least feel good, because you don't have to stick with the one doctor that says, oh no, you're just crazy, right? And
Right.
so that's how another way you can empower yourself is that you have the choice, and think of it as like a business, right? Like, sadly to say, but it is a business, right?
Yeah.
The medical system is a business. And who's going to provide you the best healthcare? That's your choice.
Right.
You get to choose that. So
Yeah.
that was another thing that I believe is super powerful. So you don't have to listen to the doctors right away. And if they dismiss you, follow your intuition. That's another thing. So I knew in my gut, and if that doctor said I was crazy or like, no, dismiss me, which I really did have happen. So during COVID times, it was really hard to get, to go see a doctor because they were shut down. And then once they reopened, like everybody wanted to go see a doctor.
Hmm.
So were they so backed up, and so I couldn't see a doctor until like 3 months out. And so I already started doing my own research too. Another thing to empower yourself is to start researching your own symptoms and knowledge is power. So the more you know about yourself and your body, the more you know, and you can tell your symptoms to the doctors too. And so
Right.
you don't leave all the power to them deciding your future or however you want to be diagnosed, etc., right? Your care. And so I started looking up these symptoms, and endometriosis kept popping up. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I have endometriosis. Like, there's no way. So when I went to see the doctor, finally, the OBGYN, I was like, I think I have endometriosis. And she literally dismissed me so quick, like this. No, she didn't even ask any questions. I was like, I think I have endometriosis after I had this thing called endoflare. So during Thanksgiving 2020, I was in so much pain. Like, my insides just felt like it was inflamed. Like,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was just lying on the floor, throwing up, crying in so much pain. And my family was like, oh my God, what is going on? Mind you, this used to happen in my teenage years, and I just thought I was
Hmm.
normal. And when you're in your teenage years, you're just exploring yourself. You just got your period. You don't even know what's normal, what's not. So I thought
Yeah.
that was a normal thing. But I didn't have it for 20s to my 30s because I was on the pill. And then once I got off of it, like, I had that happen again. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is crazy. So I researched, did all that, and I told her about it. I was like, I had this episode. I really think that I have endometriosis. And she's like, no, you don't have it. It was just a painful period. And I was like, wow, okay. And I was like, are you sure? And I already knew in my gut, I was like, okay, she's not going to help me in that sense where she's going to diagnose me or walk me through endometriosis. It's fine. So what she helped me though was to, at the time, I did go to the ER after that Thanksgiving incident. So they found like ovarian cysts, and I guess it's very normal to have the ovarian cysts in your, on your ovaries grow. So again, women health issues is always casted as not a big deal.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, it's not a big deal. I went to the ER. It's not a big deal. You have this ovarian cyst. It's probably what caused like the pain. So she helped me monitor it through ultrasounds monthly. But then finally, an ultrasound technician found out that it was endometriomas, meaning it was endometriosis. Like these cysts were formed from endometriosis. So they're called endometriomas. And so I didn't have to do a laparoscopy to get diagnosed with endo, but that's like the only way you would find out mainly right now if you have endo or not, is to go through this surgery called a laparoscopy, where they cut you open and they go inside your body to see if they can detect endo or not, which is wild, right?
Yeah.
And the other wild thing I want to note is a lot of just regular surgeons or OBGYNs will do these surgeries for women to try to detect if they have endo, and they don't know what they're looking for. So a lot of these women will go through these surgeries and come out and they're like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with you. I didn't find anything. It's not like it's because they don't know what they're looking for. They're not detecting.
That is insane. They're
Yes.
just scavenging through your body.
Mhm.
What? That is crazy.
Yeah. So that's why so many women have it, right? 1 in 10 women have this. Think about it. There's only like about 200, around 200 to 250, or maybe 300 now, since like, 2 years ago, of these surgeons, like excision surgeon specialists. So they're just, specialists for just endometriosis. And 200 to 300 specialists is not enough around the world. This is around the world.
Yeah.
Think about it. So their schedules are so crazy busy. And you don't have just one surgery too, mind you, right? Like you can have multiple surgeries because endometriosis can grow back. So it's not like a one-time surgery and you're done. It's kind of like cancer. So you can compare it through cancer. Like you can get rid of it, right, through surgery, cancer, but then it can regrow.
Right.
So it's similar in that sense where, it's a very, very painful disease. And you need to book it with these surgeons. And so it's like, this is why advocating for endometriosis is super important. I want to like let people know that you may have it. Like I'm sure somebody who has it and they might not even know.
Yeah.
Which is the sad part.
Just having education and putting that message out there.
Yeah.
I know a big part of your mission is also educating people and women on a different approach to healing. So for you, it's holistic healing. And I know you alluded to it a little earlier with diet, but I'd love to know more about it and how it has succeeded at kind of addressing your needs versus traditional healthcare methods.
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah. So I'm not hating on the Western medicine, right? I believe in all medicine and you take the best of the both worlds. So I like Eastern and Western medicine. So I'm Chinese, so I believe in like herbal medicine, holistic route all the time, because in the Chinese medicine, right, like people are known for that. Yeah. So I've always been on more of the holistic route where I feel like the earth will always provide you whatever you need for your body. So that's what has always been in my mind. And I never really took a lot of pharmaceutical drugs growing up. Like, even if I had so much pain, I would not take Advil or Tylenol. Yeah. I try to stay away from it. I try to let my body do its thing. And you have to trust that your body, right?
Me too. My mom was like, here's some Tiger Balm. You'll be fine.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You kind of suck it up. But the thing is, your body is really smart. It is actually always trying to it's always there to try to make you as healthy as possible, even though you may not feel it, but it's like it's always doing its job to keep you surviving. So if you don't allow it to, and you keep masking it with all these pharmaceutical drugs, like how do you really know if that's a real symptom, or are you allowing your body to heal on its own? So in general, that's what I always think. And So with holistic health, I figured out first, actually it's a journey though, honestly, through the holistic health. I didn't really believe in it. I didn't really know about it. But, in our society, we're really focused on physical health, right? Like your physical body, how you look. So, of course, I was one of those people. I thought like healthy meant having a six pack or like being muscular, right? So I was on that journey. So I started eating healthy when I was 25. I went on my health journey because I broke my wrist while snowboarding. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so weak. I've never broke a bone. Like, I need to change something with my health. So I did, and I got into paleo. So I was into the paleo diet. And I don't like diets, mind you, but the paleo diet actually taught me, though, to eat a lot of whole foods, to, do the primal things that our ancestors used to do. So that's why I correlated really well with that diet. And I was like, okay, I didn't do extreme, like no eating, etc. That's not healthy. I like actually learned to nourish my body with a lot of nutrient dense foods. So once I started my journey with the physical, I learned that when I started healing my physical, it was helping me mentally. Honestly, I started becoming more confident. I started becoming less anxiety. I became more happy, to be honest. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
How is this even happening? And then I kind of dug into it. And then I was like, okay, it's correlating with my emotions too. Like, what? My emotional aspect? Like, right? I'm more happier. I'm less triggered by whatever people say. And I was like, I like this. I like living like this.
Yeah.
And then, mind you, the holistic health is exactly the whole body, right? Your whole body is connected. So I realized that. So if your physical is not healthy, then your mental will not be, right? And it'll be affected too. Your emotions affect it. And spirituality is part of the holistic health. And that was the last piece of learning about the holistic health. And at first I was like, I'm not a very spiritual person, mind you. Like growing up, I mean, I'm Buddhist. I believe in like something greater. I believe in ancestors, reincarnation, right? But I didn't really dig into like a religion. I wasn't super religious, but I know that there's something greater. There's God of some sort.
Right.
But the spirituality aspect really taught me like the power that I actually have and that we all have actually. And when you connect to your spiritual side, you kind of get more peace and you get more help and you get, you feel like your life purpose and inside of you and your soul, right? You've heard of souls. And I totally believe this, that there's something your soul ignites. And when it ignites, like it helps with all of your physical whole body health in general. So that's why the holistic health is super, super important for everybody, to be honest.
Yeah. So I know you've talked about how fueling your body with those nutrients and whole foods and going on this holistic health journey not only helped with your mood, right, and your mental health, but physical health too. Do you think that that played a part in your infertility journey as well? And can you speak on that? Because I know you tried so much, right? Like you did IVF, right?
Yes.
And I think you'd mentioned that you actually became pregnant naturally. So
Yeah. So I did acupuncture. I did the bean protocol to help me cleanse out, like, try to help regulate my immune system inside my body. Yeah, I did acupuncture. I even saw a therapist, guys. So like I was depressed at this time too. And so my mental well-being was suffering. So I even got a therapist to work on that. And then I also had a life coach at that time too. I was trying everything, guys. I was like, this is the year that I'm going to go all in. And then I even tried IVF, like I told you. I wanted to try all the routes. And so I did go through IVF to only get a miscarriage after the IVF process. And it was such a hard time because I was like, what more? What else can like life throw at me? Like seriously, right? I was like, I've been through so much already. And mind you, I had endometriosis pain at this time too. So before I even started the IVF process too, I had to do my laparoscopy to help with the pain that I had from endometriosis. So I had
Wow.
the laparoscopy and then I did the IVF. And so it was just so much in that year. And right when I let go, literally after I got the miscarriage in October, I remember October 2021, and then I just didn't want to do anything in November, and then December I found out I was pregnant naturally, and
Oh
it
my
was right
gosh.
before my second round of IVF because I was like, okay, I'm going to try again and let's just see how it goes. And I think after the second round of IVF, I was just going to literally just stop and like not
Yeah.
even. I was like, okay, I was going to surrender, give up at that time. But no, I found out that I got pregnant naturally. And the holistic health, I totally believe that once I tapped into every aspect of that, it gave me the result that I wanted. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, before I used to just focus on the physical, right? Like you're not tapping into the other parts that make you the whole being, amazing person that you are, right? So if you only tap into one part, you're not going to heal
Yeah.
the rest. So when you're healing, when you're on your healing journey, though, if you do at least try one, but I really believe that the spirituality piece really, really tapped into me being able to have hope to keep moving forward. I think that's a big piece that I
Yeah.
want people to know. Like, yeah, you don't have to be super woo woo or super spiritual or religious, but just giving you that hope to keep moving forward, to take those actions to
Yeah.
get to that goal and get that end result. I totally believe that. And so when I got that Akashic reading, I got an Akashic reading too. I was not spiritual, but I don't know if you know what an Akashic reading is, but it's like
I
a
don't.
person
Can you
that
tell
you
me?
hire and they can tap into your guides and spirit guides, etc., to answer
Okay.
questions. So they tap into like, another higher dimension. So, and they can tap into your
Mm-hmm.
guides and talk to them so you can get the answers you want. So this began my spiritual journey. And when I got that reading, she told me that I would become a mom, and I would become a mom to a daughter, and then that I would produce a lot of milk. And mind you,
Oh.
I was very skeptical, right? But I just wanted any
Mm-hmm.
answers at that point. But hearing that I would be a mom just gave me confirmation, like, okay, like I don't know how or when it's gonna happen, but I just kept going. And that spiritual side,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, that moment made me realize, like, okay, she might be saying something, it might be real, it might not be, but at least it gave me hope to keep moving forward, because I could have easily given up and be like, nope,
Yeah.
I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to even try. Like, if I don't become a mom, I don't want to live, right? Because when you're depressed, you just think of
Yeah.
the literally worst scenarios that can be imagined,
Yeah.
which is very, very sad and a really tough place to be out of. But
Yeah.
yeah, she was correct though. Mind you, she was absolutely correct on everything she said. So I had to
Yeah.
become a believer.
You have a beautiful daughter now. She's your little mini me. Um, wow.
Yes.
Well, one, I just thank you for sharing your story, not just with me and my listeners, but that's like your mission, right? I'm sure you've said this 1,000 times, if not more now. But it takes so much courage to be so vulnerable and talk about
Oh,
these struggles, because I feel like, especially with topics like infertility and miscarriages, there's so much shame just
yeah.
on that topic. Like for women, you blame yourself, and I feel like it can be a very lonely journey to go through yourself. So I'd love it if you could maybe talk more about how you dealt with your grief of a miscarriage. Like, what were some of the emotions you were going through at that time, and what would you say is the best way a spouse or a loved one in general can support someone after a miscarriage?
Oh, this is a good question. I love this so much. Yeah, you have to let your emotions just run through. So let that pain come out. Cry. I literally cried for a whole month. I was
Yeah.
in my bed crying every day. I was like, you know, I just let it all out. I didn't talk to anybody for a whole month. I just let my grief happen. And
Yeah.
you get to a point where you let it all go, and you'll be like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to come back out slowly but surely. But having a lot of love
Mm-hmm.
and support is important, to be honest. So my spouse or my partner, he is very supportive. He tried his best. Obviously, couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But seeing him, how hurt he was too, kind of helped. It didn't make me feel
Mm-hmm.
alone, you know? And I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of healing in general comes with knowing that you're not alone. That's honestly the main thing that I can say. Even when you're going through depression, you literally think you're alone. Everything is feeling alone. So when I put my miscarriage story out on Instagram, and it's not because I wanted people's sympathy or not, I just wanted to spread
Mm-hmm.
awareness. That was another way of me healing, because
Yeah.
I was like just allowing myself to heal and to show other people. And when I shared my story, people started telling me that they had miscarriages. So it made me feel less alone, which is so crazy.
Yeah.
So that helped me heal as well. And finding community and other people who have gone through the same thing. And so I went on social media just to look at what other people go through. And a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
had like multiple miscarriages. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're just still hopeful, and they're still
Yeah.
like going through and doing their life, like they're setting
Yeah.
that example of like, okay, they're surviving and they've had it probably worse than me at some point too. I'm not validating that someone's better or more sad than the other, but it just
Yeah.
shows like how resilient they are. Then if
Yeah.
they're that resilient, I can be.
Right.
So that's why it helped me heal too, because
Just
when you
finding
see
that
another
community.
example, yeah, so
Yeah.
it's so important. So that's why I always tell people to always try to get help, because getting help doesn't mean that you're weak. Getting help is courageous. Asking
Mm-hmm.
for help is another courageous thing, right? Because it's being vulnerable. It's like what you said, opening up and letting other people know like, okay, I've been through this, but then
Yeah.
allowing other people to help you through it is
Yeah.
another thing. And why not? Why not have other people help you through it? And so I got out of it very, very quickly. I think a month, maybe at most a month and a half. And
Mm-hmm.
after, with all that love and support, I felt empowered enough to be like, okay. And I got that Akashic reading. I was like, okay, I'm a mom. I'm going to be a mom. That's what she said. I didn't truly believe it or not, but I was like, I don't even want to think about being pregnant. I've been thinking about it for 2 years straight, every day of my life. I was like, I'm just so over it. I just want to live life. Um,
Yeah.
I know. And then I told my husband one day, it was like, hey, it's kind of around my ovulation time, but mind you, again, my cycles were never in sync. Ovulation was always never there in sync. And I was like, you want to just, try? Just in, I don't know, just try. And we
Yeah.
did. And then
And it worked.
that was it. That one time I was like, okay, I don't care what the result is. I just feel like maybe we should just try. If not, whatever. And
Yeah.
then I'm pregnant naturally.
Wow. It's like as soon as you released yourself from the expectation and you just let go and let the universe do its thing instantly.
Yes.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy and wild? And I was like,
Yes.
that's why everybody always says that when you let go, things happen. And that's how the universe works. When you let go of control and you allow the magic to happen and to come to you, it will happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is an incredible story. I'm so glad that you
Thank
got
you.
your baby girl and that all of that pain and everything you went through it meant something and it brought you to where you are today.
Yeah.
I loved what you were saying about finding that community and just taking the plunge to be courageous and stand in your trauma, right? Like sharing with people and just
Yeah.
with the mission to find connection, right? I see that
Yeah.
you are a complete great example of being an advocate for mental health and speaking openly about these things. But as a first generation Asian American, being Chinese, I'm sure that wasn't necessarily the norm growing up in an Asian household. So, how did
Yeah.
that affect your childhood? How did you become this adult now who is so open about mental health?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that question. that's why I was not taught about mental health as at a young age. And in Asian family, our parents, my parents immigrated here from, my mom immigrated from Vietnam, and then my dad came from Taiwan. So they're not from
Mhm.
the US. And so they had to make a life for themselves. So I get it. Their generation's different. But, we were taught to be the good child, listen, don't cause any ruckus, make my life easy
Yeah.
as possible. Like, don't give me stress, right? Just be that perfect
Yeah.
child. Don't have your opinion. So I was taught this growing up, and even in school, because being Asian, you're already cast as the minority citizen that everybody wants to be, right? You're like
Mhm.
supposed to be the quiet one who's supposed to be smart and, just work hard and be quiet, right? And not cause any
Mhm.
problems. I hated that so much. So now when I'm like in my 30s now, I learned through my empowerment journey and my, since 2019, I was like, dude, staying quiet got me nowhere. Staying
Yeah.
quiet got me no results that I wanted. But when I started my Instagram page at first, when I finally got diagnosed with endometriosis, I started that, and I started like advocating about endometriosis because I was so pissed off that I was like, it took me 20 years to get a diagnosis. Like, this is BS. Like, other women should
Yeah.
not have to go through this. Just kind of inflamed something in me. And then this is how I started kept opening up more and more and
Mhm.
more. And then now it has led me here today to be so open and honest with my journey, because I believe that for me to heal, it's sharing my story. And then what helped me heal too was listening to other people's story, knowing that they got through it,
Yeah.
then I can. So I just want to be another avenue for that. So,
Mm.
I mean, I'm definitely not the person I used to be. I used to be super quiet. I was an ESL kid, English speaking, or English is my
Mhm.
second language growing up. I spoke
Yeah.
Mandarin. So I was just so scared of speaking in general. And
Yeah.
now you tell me, like, now I'm talking here and, like, connecting with others. That's not who I would have ever imagined myself being or doing, but I believe
Yeah.
that this is my purpose and I'm supposed to be here sharing my story, and the universe, God, etc., like put me here to make me go through all that I've been through
Mhm.
so I can be at where I'm supposed to be. So
Yeah.
it's it's a journey, but it's a beautiful journey if you
Yes.
take all the hardships and turn it into like a lesson learned.
Yeah. No, I think that your story is a true testament to going through some hard stuff, really hard stuff, and turning it into something powerful and beautiful and just sharing your message. And that actually brings me to another question. So, a lot of your message is talking about this Bliss Soft Life. Please tell the audience, what is the Bliss Soft Life and how was this concept born?
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for letting me talk about the Bliss Soft Life. So I know we kind of tapped into the spiritual side. And once I started my spiritual journey during my Akashic reading, it has led me now. But I totally believe that we are all spiritual, beautiful beings, and we come
Mhm.
from, the universe, etc. And we're all here for this human experience. And as a human, when you come to Earth, it's like a contract that you forget your power, that you forget that you're the soul being. So it's kind of like a journey of learning a lot of life lessons. So that's what we come here. And I believe that the Bliss Soft Life is just here to remind you that you are this soul powerful being. And when you unlock that and remember that, then you can live life full of bliss, where you know that life is going to be softer because you're following your intuition, you're loving yourself, which we're all supposed to be doing. You're speaking up for yourself. You're doing things that what we're taught at a young age not to do. So you're taking
Yeah.
back your power, empowering yourself to be who you truly are, like authentically you, and not having your like ego mind, your subconscious mind telling you otherwise, because you always hear it. You always hear like, no, you can't do that. Or you're like living in this fear of anxiety, right? We're all
Yeah.
mostly like this. But no, you learned skills to live in your full power, to not let that, your ego or your subconscious mind dictate your life. So you can fully show up to be the happiest, most best version of yourself. And so when you do that, your life is
Yeah.
so full of bliss, honestly. Like you live in the present moment. You're not thinking of the past or the future anymore because we're taught to always think that way. When you live in the past, you're always mostly people who do live in the past, right? They're always thinking of like negative things like, oh, I wish I didn't say that. I wish I didn't do that. That's why it led me here. It's because I made all those mistakes, right? And then
Yeah.
if you're thinking about the future, always thinking of like the list of things that you have not done, or like the outcomes that you want or may not have. So you're just so overwhelmed. So when you're in the past and the future, it's like always a negative connotation. So this is why I finally learned that living in the present moment, like just being here fully talking to you, just brings so much joy. It's like these little things in life you just appreciate. And then when you appreciate little things, that's when life is truly blissful. Like you live in bliss. And I can only say, honestly say that
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, I'm living my full purpose. I'm so excited and amazed that I get to connect with all these people. I get to be my authentic self. I don't have to be
Yeah.
that child that never spoke up, like that, even though I wanted to
Yeah.
raise my hand, but I never had the courage to because, I thought people would laugh at me, etc. Now I don't care. I'm like, if I say something wrong, whatever, but my intentions are good. So, like
Yeah.
you be your true self. And when you live the bliss off life though, life is easy. Like it's so soft. It's not hard like what we're taught, right? You have to work hard to make a living. You have to work hard to get a relationship. Like everything you want in life will become so much easier because when you're true, authentically happy, you start manifesting the things that you want. Like your energy heightens. And so all the good things start happening to you. So life is truly easier and softer. So this is what I call the
Yeah.
bliss off life, living the BS life.
I love that. That is definitely
Thank
such an empowering experience and journey to get to the bliss off life.
you.
So I know that you have a free empowerment journal, right? Available
Yes.
for people. What else can someone expect to gain from your services? Because you have the empowerment journal, you have what, one-to-one coaching, and what else?
Yes, I have one-on-one coaching, and I also do a thing called a numerology guidance card reading, and this is like a 30-minute session where um these card reading is kind of like a tarot card reading, but not. So I help you through an empowering coaching session before I pull these cards, and then these cards add on to guiding you in the right direction of, whatever your question you asked. And so I think it's a beautiful little thing if you even want to start tapping into your spirituality, but it's like your guides helping you. And yes, I
Yeah.
do one-on-one coaching, which I believe is super powerful for anybody trying to change a habit or trying to up level your life or create a life that you truly want. And it's okay to ask for help. And, that's why you need professionals or people who've been through it to help lead you in the right direction in a faster route.
Wow. Well, that is certainly something that I'm sure my listeners are going to want to take advantage of. So, thank you so much for sharing. I think we're going to wrap up the episode now, but before we do you have anything else that you'd like to impart on our listeners before we go, Kathy?
Yes, I just want to tell people that honestly, it's if you really want something in life, it's not as hard as you think because our mind creates our reality, right? Like our thoughts create our reality. So if your thoughts are always happy, you're going to create a lot of happiness and magic in your life. Think about it. If your thoughts are always negative, that's how you're going to perceive the world in a very, very negative way. So your thoughts are so powerful. Um, so always try to educate yourself. If knowledge is power, like I said to begin with. So if you have, there's so much resources. So if you have the
Yeah.
time and the capacity to, which I know we all do,
Hmm.
start trying to better yourself in that way. Just
Yeah.
listening to podcasts, putting it in the background, or just surrounding yourself with like-minded people that you want to be. Maybe you're not at that place, but there are a lot of free resources out there. And so don't feel like you always have to buy something to be better.
Hmm.
You don't. You can, it's all within you. So you're this magical, amazing being. So go and ignite your power. And we all have that. So I just want to encourage everybody to do that and start today if you have not done so. Because my story is, an example of what you can do and become. And that's what we can all do.
Yeah. What a way to end this podcast episode. Thank you so much for just coming in here, bearing it all, and being brutally honest with us. Y'all can find Kathy's socials, all her links to her website, the one-to-one coaching, consultations, all that good stuff in the show notes. If you yourself have ever struggled with infertility, endometriosis, any of the things that we discussed here today, make sure to go show Kathy some love and follow her, because she's got just the right kind of resources and content to support women who face similar struggles. So thanks again, Kathy, and thank you everyone for listening. And as always, I will talk to you soon. Bye.